A crypto treasury can be drained without a hacker breaking the code. That is the uncomfortable lesson from the BonkDAO governance attack, where public reports say roughly $20 million in Bonk tokens left the DAO treasury after an attacker bought enough voting power to pass their own proposal. The surprising part is not that a wallet got hacked. It is not that a private key was leaked. It is not even that a smart contract had some obvious bug. The scary part is simpler. The attacker appears to have used the governance system exactly the way it was designed. They bought tokens, gained votes, met the quorum requirement, voted for a treasury transfer, and the system treated that vote as valid. So this video is not really about whether you like or dislike Bonk as a meme coin. It is about a bigger question that every beginner should understand before trusting the phrase decentralized governance. If a DAO lets tokens vote directly over treasury money, what stops someone from buying enough tokens to vote the money into their own wallet? Let's build this from the ground up. A DAO is usually described as an online organization run by code and community votes. Instead of a normal company bank account controlled by executives, a DAO can have an on-chain treasury. That treasury might hold the project's own token, stablecoins, NFTs, or other crypto assets. The treasury is just a wallet or smart contract controlled by rules. Those rules might say that funds can only move after a proposal passes. Someone writes a proposal. Token holders vote. If enough voting power supports it, the proposal can trigger an action, like paying a developer grant, funding marketing, changing a protocol parameter, or transferring tokens from the treasury. In the clean, ideal version, this sounds great. The community can see what is happening. Votes are public. The treasury does not depend on one CEO quietly moving funds. Everything is transparent. But transparency does not automatically mean safety. Imagine a town where every dollar in the public budget can be moved by a vote. Now imagine voting power is not based on residence. It is based on how many town tokens you hold. If turnout is low, and if someone can buy enough tokens, that person might not need to persuade the town. They only need to satisfy the math. That is the core of the BonkDAO story. According to multiple reports, the attacker spent around $4.4 million buying Bonk, enough to reach a little over 1% of the token supply and meet the DAO's quorum threshold. Quorum is the minimum participation needed for a vote to count. If quorum is 1%, then a proposal does not need most of all token holders to show up. It only needs enough voting power to cross that minimum line. Once that line is crossed, the vote can pass if the votes that do show up are mostly in favor. That difference matters. People often hear 1% quorum and think it means 1% is just a small safety check. But in a low turnout DAO, quorum can become the target. The attacker does not have to control the entire network. They do not have to own most of the token. They only need enough voting power to make the vote valid, and then enough yes votes to win among the participants. If nobody else is paying attention, one determined voter can become the whole election. That is why this was a governance attack, not a classic code exploit. A classic smart contract exploit is like finding a broken lock. Maybe a contract calculates collateral wrong. Maybe it forgets to check a permission. Maybe it lets someone withdraw more than they deposited. A governance attack is different. It is like using the front door because the policy says whoever holds enough keys is allowed in. The code can be functioning perfectly, and the outcome can still be disastrous. In BonkDAO's case, the malicious proposal reportedly directed the treasury to send Bonk tokens to a wallet controlled by the attacker. Once the vote passed, the system executed the transfer. That is where automation becomes both the feature and the risk. Automation is why DAOs can be powerful. Humans do not have to wait for a board meeting, a bank approval, or a manual payout. If the community votes, the chain executes. But automation also compresses the reaction window. If there is no delay, no review layer, and no emergency brake, a bad proposal can go from approved to executed before most token holders even realize the vote happened. If you are finding this helpful, subscribe for clear crypto explainers that focus on mechanisms, not hype. The goal here is simple. If you understand what actually moves on-chain, you can spot risks that marketing language usually hides. Now let's talk about why this specific kind of attack is possible. Token-weighted governance means votes are counted by tokens, not by people. One token might equal one vote. A wallet with 1 billion tokens has far more influence than a wallet with 1,000. This design is common because it is easy to measure on-chain. The blockchain can see token balances. It cannot easily know who is a unique human, whether someone is informed, or whether a wallet represents one person, one exchange, one fund, or one attacker. So token voting is simple, but it has trade-offs. The first trade-off is concentration. If a few wallets hold a lot of tokens, they can dominate governance. The second trade-off is liquidity. If the governance token trades freely on exchanges, an attacker may be able to buy voting power. In some systems, they may even borrow it temporarily, vote, and return it later. The third trade-off is voter apathy. Most holders do not vote. Some do not know votes are happening. Some hold tokens on exchanges and cannot vote easily. Some simply do not care until something breaks. This creates a strange security model. A DAO might look decentralized because thousands of wallets hold the token. But if only a tiny fraction actually votes, the live governance system may be much less decentralized than the holder count suggests. Think of it like a neighborhood with 10,000 residents, but only 6 people show up to decide who gets the community bank account. The neighborhood is large, the vote is small. That is why the phrase decentralized governance can be misleading for beginners. Decentralized compared to what? If the voting power is widely distributed, turnout is healthy, proposals are reviewed, and treasury transfers have delays, the system may have meaningful checks and balances. If voting power is liquid, turnout is weak, quorum is low, and treasury execution is automatic, then governance itself becomes an attack surface. Not a side feature, not a community decoration, an attack surface. This is also why people are debating whether to call events like this hacks, exploits, theft, or governance failures. From a human point of view, a proposal that moves the treasury to an attacker's wallet is obviously harmful. From the chain's point of view, the question is narrower. Was the proposal valid under the rules? Did enough voting power approve it? Did the execution conditions pass? Blockchains are very good at enforcing rules. They are not good at knowing whether a rule was wise. That is the uncomfortable part. Code does not understand intent. A smart contract does not know the difference between a legitimate community grant and a treasury drain if both actions use the same approved transfer function. So what safeguards can DAOs use? One common safeguard is a time lock. A time lock creates a delay between a vote passing and the action executing. For example, if a proposal passes today, it may not be executable for 24 hours, 48 hours, or longer. That delay gives people time to notice something is wrong. Exchanges can monitor suspicious movement. Community members can raise alarms. Emergency multisigs can pause execution if the DAO has that power. A time lock is not perfect. It slows down legitimate action, too. But for treasury transfers, a little friction can be the difference between a close call and an irreversible drain. Another safeguard is a multisig treasury. A multisig means multiple trusted signers must approve a transaction before funds move. Instead of governance directly pushing money out the door, the vote may authorize a payment, and then a group of signers verifies that the payment matches the proposal and is not malicious. This adds human review. It also adds trust. If the multisig signers are careless, compromised, or politically captured, that creates a different risk. But for large treasuries, many projects choose some balance between community voting and signer oversight. A third safeguard is proposal review. Before a vote goes live, the DAO can require a review period where technical contributors, security teams, or elected delegates inspect the proposal. They can check the destination wallet, the amount, the encoded transaction data, and whether the proposal does what the text claims. This matters because many voters do not read raw transaction instructions. A proposal can have friendly language while the transaction payload does something else. Good governance tools should make the actual action visible in plain English. A fourth safeguard is healthier quorum and participation design. Higher quorum can help, but only if the community can actually meet it. If quorum is too high, the DAO becomes frozen and cannot act. If quorum is too low, an attacker may be able to buy the minimum vote. Some DAOs use delegation, where passive holders assign their voting power to delegates who are expected to pay attention. Some use different thresholds for different actions. A small grant might need a normal vote. A huge treasury transfer might need much higher participation, a longer delay, or multiple approvals. The key idea is that not every decision should have the same blast radius. Changing a website color and transferring millions from the treasury should not require the same level of review. There are also snapshot-based designs, where voting power is measured at a specific earlier block. That can make last-minute vote buying harder, but snapshots are not magic. If the attacker prepares early enough, or if tokens can be accumulated quietly before the snapshot, the risk remains. Some systems try vote escrow, staking lockups, or reputation layers. These can make governance power less liquid, but they also make the system more complicated and sometimes less open. That is the constant DAO trade-off. More automation means faster execution and fewer gatekeepers. More safeguards means slower execution and more human judgment. Neither side is automatically correct. The right design depends on what the DAO controls and how much damage a bad vote can do. For beginners, the lesson is not that all DAOs are fake or all governance tokens are dangerous. The lesson is to ask better questions. Who can create proposals? What voting power is needed for quorum? How many people actually vote? Can a proposal directly move treasury funds? Is there a time lock after approval? Is there a multisig or emergency pause? Can voters clearly see the exact wallet and amount being transferred? And most importantly, what happens if the rules are followed by someone with bad intentions? That last question is the one many projects avoid. Security is not only about preventing bugs, it is also about designing rules that survive hostile behavior. A DAO treasury is not safe because it has a community. It is safer when the community can notice, respond, and block harmful actions before they execute. The BonkDAO attack matters because it shows how governance can fail in a way that looks boring until the money is gone. No dramatic password leak, no cinematic hacker screen. Just tokens bought, votes counted, quorum met, proposal passed, funds moved. That is why this story will probably keep coming up beyond Bonk itself. It is a reminder that decentralization is not a slogan. It is a system design problem. If voting power can be bought cheaply enough, and if the treasury obeys votes automatically, then the rules meant to protect the community can become the route around it. So the next time you see a project advertise community governance, do not stop at the word DAO. Ask how the vote works when almost nobody is watching. Because in crypto, the most dangerous exploit is not always hidden in the code. Sometimes it is written plainly in the rules. If you have questions about DAO voting, quorum, multisigs, or how treasury proposals actually execute on-chain, drop them in the comments. And if there is another crypto security story you want explained in plain English, suggest it below.